So
Okay.
that's going to bring us right into episode 5 because opening scene is some cheery music and it's Josh waking up on the beach the day after and the cheery music immediately fades and he turns over and vomits, which is just pure disgust after what happened the night previously.
Yeah, the anxiety, everything. I mean, props to this actor. I don't have his name written down, but this portrayal is so well done and obviously is sensitive. But he plays the like obviously he's gone through shit like this his whole life. So he's trying to like be like, oh no, everything's okay. He's obviously scared every time Seth comes near him. And then at the end, when he's telling the boys, like, quit it. The best thing you could do for me is never mention it again. Like his scream, I don't know if that's in 6 or 5, but it's such good acting and it's not easy subject matter. So props to him. I mean,
The whole thing.
couldn't be easy to play, but obviously we'll get there.
For him
Yeah.
and Seth, I feel like those two
And
roles
Josh-
are very
Yeah.
emotionally difficult.
Mhm.
Josh, like, isolating himself, like, obviously being alone on the beach, this was going into Seth's plan, though. Seth was like, like, he's fine, leave him alone. We don't want a buzzkill coming here. Like, he has this, like, ability to bring negativity, and, like, Seth's preaching, hey, this Josh kid kind of sucks all of a sudden.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
wrote
dude,
that
fuck
he's
you.
an unhinged narc and he's gaslighting. He was like, good vibes only, just keep him over there. I was like, you're doing the most. So now I
Yeah.
don't just think that, like, not that there'd ever be a pass for what he did, but like you're so aware and you're covering your tracks now. Like you're deeply disgusting. Like,
It's so weird because, like, I actually didn't know he was a narc. I didn't know he was bad. I kind of liked the character, and all of a sudden, within 5 minutes of the last episode and the beginning of this, I'm like, dude, I fucking hope
Yeah.
you get eaten by the Jaguars babies or something. Like, fuck you.
One thing about Seth, really quick, is while they're a lot of times keeping the variables consistent between the girls and the boys, it's weird and interesting that they chose someone like Nora and then they chose someone like Seth, who Seth is obviously choosing to be a leader of the pack and say, oh, this and that, and the hype guy. And but Nora was never the hype guy. I mean, she had her like heroic moments in season 1. She really did, but she was more keeping to herself, quiet. I think that's also just her personality. I mean, Gretchen plucked her out as that, So I think it was interesting that someone like Nora wasn't really guiding the pack at all. Like, I don't think Nora really gave them much advantage, whereas Seth feels like up until that horrid moment, he was like a real positive like leader in the pack, which is interesting. It's just a little
Lasted
tangent,
all of 15 days and then he became like the
yeah,
emitter of pure toxicity for the group. So like,
Yeah.
truly.
That is so true, though. Like, I never thought about it. That, like, the narc for Nora was like she only answered questions. She didn't like actually say anything out loud. She was just like, "Hey, Nora, like, do you know anything about this?" And then be like that. So, and also, and what you said about going back and watching season 1, dude, Nora the whole time is like, dude, you're such a narc, because they're talking about Jeanette's body, and somebody says like, well, it could have been the tide, and immediately Nora's like, yeah, like tides often take out cars and houses if they're strong enough, and it's like, you freaking dictionary, you're just playing the field.
yeah, she was definitely under the radar. But they even said, like, Gretchen and Dean and Dan, they're like, you picked a rogue operative, and that's before they know the truth, because as far as we know, they still don't know what happened that day.
Yeah.
So they must have just had the vibes weren't good from Seth for everyone at some point, just generally. So yeah, I think Gretchen saw something that no one else did, and it didn't quite pan out.
I think Gretchen might have knew exactly who she was putting onto the boys' island, intending for him to
True.
be
I
a
mean,
failure.
we saw in episode 1 that he was demonstrating some relatively violent tendencies. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if she, just being a smart woman, could sense that and was like, he's a wild card. Like,
Are you talking
we'll
about
throw him in.
drowning Henry?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good stuff in this episode. Well, we're gonna rattle it off at the start. Okay, so we got Bo is alive. We get Bo. We get Kirin. We get Henry and the My Chemical Romance, which is amazing. We get Josh, who's like seems like a completely different person in his little like whatever.
Quick
and
session.
obviously Nora is alive, which was a fucking amazing call by us. We were like,
said
she
we
ain't
wouldn't
dead.
be caught dead. And
Yeah, you don't see someone die. I knew that submarine went down and got her.
seriously, how? Do you think they'll ever
Submarine.
tell us? Do you think they'll ever tell us?
Refuse to say
yeah.
scuba divers.
I
It's
think
gotta be
we'll
a
literally
submarine.
see it.
I'm
I
going
think
with
we will see it.
dolphins.
Yeah, dolphins.
Dolphins
Um,
could be.
Seth is a narc we get. And then we also get a little tidbit that the boys are actually progressing faster than the girls, which was cool. I loved that because what you just said about like picking someone that might fuck it up. I mean, Gretchen's not really acting like she did that on purpose, but again, she could be like getting drunk and acting like it's fucking up the experiment on purpose to throw off Dean and Dan. And it all just be some like twisted ass thing. But yeah, so what do you guys think?
Yeah, they preserved the meat, and that was
Yeah.
a milestone the girls hadn't hit.
Yeah.
I did think that
Mhm.
was interesting. I mean, I'd be curious of what the list is. What was Gretchen looking for?
Yeah.
And what timeline? That'd be.
I was just gonna say that I like that they gave us that information. I don't know if they gave us a number, but I know in season 1 they were like, "Oh, they found the black box of the airplane. That's already milestone like 6 or whatever."
Yes.
I think food preservation. I mean, that must have been like a way later step if the one assistant like actually said something about it. Which I think the assistants, like the guy and the girl, are gonna have a bigger role coming into play. I don't know why I think that. Maybe I'm hoping that because I like them and I think they're funny and
Yeah.
like the impact that Gretchen has on them. But I don't know. I don't know if like the guy is gonna crack and like help the kids out because he was saying like if I hit my stride sooner or whatever, he like somehow emotionally related to what was going on. So when he gave that spiel, I was thinking like, I don't know, is he gonna feel bad and like intervene?
He seemed way more to be of the same mindset as Gretchen, like
Yeah.
almost like he was rooting for the girls because it was their names are Tom and Susan, by the way, the two researchers, whatever. It was
that.
Susan that said, maybe someone has to finally say it. The guys are ahead of the girls, like almost as if he would take offense to that. So I agree. I'm interested to see more of these people.
Next thing is there's a scene of Leah getting like reprimanded. It's her after the Roth scene. First time I got that right, by the way. And
Proud of
so
you. So proud of you.
she's being taken by Dean, and
Mhm.
Dean is kind of like giving her like Dean was upset to Dan and Gretchen or whatever because Leah pulled one off on him. You know what I mean? She
Fool me
faked-
once, shame on you.
Exactly. But Dean said, "We found that knife in your toilet." She obviously did not have a knife there, and she went straight to the toilet to find the phone. So Dean's still our boy.
So
Dude.
this was the scene that I was telling Brian, like you can see the emotions go through her eyes. Like when he's first like, we found you see fear, like so much fear in her eyes. And then it turns to confusion.
Yeah.
And then it like clicks and she's like, oh, but like if you rewatch that scene, I have such a respect for that actress. Like she fucking killed it.
I love that.
Yeah,
Freaking
so-
Dean,
man. Dean,
Yeah.
you go from like, I hate you, Dean. Like you were being so nice. What
Yeah.
happens to like 30 seconds later? You're like, Dean, you're the man. Like
You're
you planted
like,
that there.
oh,
Yeah, you're like, you played me. Like, how dare you?
Leah's like,
Dean-
bet you
Dean's
don't even
really
have
cool.
a daughter. Like Leah's actually being a dick to him, even though
That-
he's trying to.
That was
Stock
insane.
image.
Yeah.
When Dean was like, all right, like drop the act, like we know like you're playing, and Leah just like snaps, like, do you even have a daughter? Like,
Yeah.
do you get off on this? Like whatever the fuck she was saying. I was like, oh my god,
she's
Leah,
probably
like,
pissed.
what is your actual like normal persona? Like she portrays so many different people.
Yeah, Paul, it was frightening how quickly she could like turn it on and off and go from like faking hysterics to like, fuck this guy, fuck you, you saw through me, okay, you're a
Yeah.
bitch.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah,
How long is
trust
that pen up
one.
for?
And then I had one more thing that was just kind of like a fact that I like is that Josh's family was one of the few that paid for it. Which just made me sad because I'm like,
Yeah, like, come
God,
on.
the family paid to send him to this like terrible place where he's gonna get sexually assaulted and just more of the same.
I forgot to bring it up. We actually got Josh's backstory in the last episode. Apparently, he had a lisp when he was younger and didn't start speaking until, I don't know, he was 10 or whatever. And then, you know, he was seeing a speech therapist. So now he's making up for lost time. That's why he talks all the time. His dad resents him for it, obviously thinks he's kind of like annoying, spineless, whatever. He has two like golden child siblings that are both models for a sustainable orthodontist, something like that. So like he's the ugly duckling from a very rich, successful family. His dad resents him. They sent him here to toughen him up. I'm not sure if we're going to get Josh's backstory, so I thought it was important to just highlight that because I think that might have been it, which I appreciate because if that's all it is, I don't really need it.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's just that, then you know he's damaged, but in a very different way than a lot of the other.
I think his real trauma happened on the island last episode. That's
absolutely.
Yeah, and they do a pretty good job of you can like conjure in your brain how Josh's life has been like bullied constantly. And you don't need an episode. They did a really good job. Even in this episode, Josh is like, people my whole life have been telling me to just own it. You know what I mean? And like that just,
I loved that scene.
Yeah, it's an amazing scene.
It's so true though.
He said own it just
so
means
true.
you are it. And
Yeah.
I don't
and it's also so
it.
powerful for someone in his position to have that mindset and be that confident. And that's kind of how I took like when we saw his interview.
I feel like a switch flipped. I don't even know if it was maybe it's Josh turning on confidence and he thinks you just have to be a total dickhead, but he was just like what no, but he was just like it was almost like you picture like a 7-year-old who's like ready to like outwit you. Like he's just kind of childish still in his behavior, and it just was interesting. I was like, like what version of Josh has like entered the prison or interrogation room?
It's like another version has entered the chat. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's why I love Josh, and I was very like upset. I didn't know if he was going to be there because we didn't see the interview yet, and I didn't know how he was going to be on the island. And when he does confide in everybody eventually, and then he flips that switch, like Alex, you were saying, when all of a sudden now he's like, you mess with the devil, you get the sticks.
Yeah.
Like that whole bit. Like I don't know. I like was happy for him, I guess, but it was a whole new personality. It was wild. Like you never saw this side before.
Yeah. And I feel like, again, this episode, I'm just like rereading my notes. It's like, so I feel like a lot is happening at a faster clip with the boys, obviously, because we're kind of like catching up and we need to all end up at the prison. But there's still a lot of interesting advancements happening in the last 5 days or whatever we're in for the girls. Like the two biggest ones were, again, relating back to piecing it together. Dot brings up Gretchen and how she met her before. And everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I loved that scene.
Do you guys think that I have a theory that Leah and or Fatten, before they're extracted, are gonna all of a sudden think Dot's a narc and kind of like turn on her a bit? Like I think there might be a
It did seem like that.
It like they were like, what the fuck? And that was like the episode that Fatten started to put piece it together and was like looking through Nora's notebook. And you know, I hope everyone will reconcile down the line, but I think we'll get a little spice and drama and like tension before we leave the island for sure.
Definitely, especially when Dot was saying like talking about how she met Gretchen.
Yeah, everyone was like flags on the play.
Like Fatten was like, whoa, Leah, are you hearing this?
Leah's like, you told me to chill.
She's like, I am no longer thinking about this. Goodbye.
Well, it makes sense that Dot's the only one because she doesn't have any parents. So
I agree. I
thought
this
was the first time anyone said anything.
I loved that scene. I loved it because you've been there for 46 days or 44 days
and just coming
and you're like,
also confirmed troll. I didn't spoil anything. Confirmed troll.
Okay, cool. Great.
Confirmed with someone who finished the season.
True.
We love a troll.
All right, so let's finish the boys really quickly before we hop to the girls. Just poor Josh loves Spills so much, and it just made it that much worse that like that's the person who he looked up to, because the whole point is like he's going over to talk to him when he's sad, and then it turns on him. But Seth knows like hell is coming. So he snips all the mics like we talked about. And then they go to find fresh water because all the water runs out. Like Josh got the last water bottle with his white privilege. So Kirin and
I actually
Josh
kind of hated that. Like I hated that
Yeah.
that's how they spun it. Like
yeah.
it was like, oh, like he felt bad about taking it. And then Seth was like, no, take it. And then was like, oh, dang, it was the last bottle. Like,
Yeah.
Fucking Seth, man.
that was such a dick move.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But so Kirin and Josh end up together. They end up finding it, and Kirin is sweet. Like he can sense that something is off with Josh. Like he's kind of fucking with them, but Josh is not reacting normally.
I mean, they find water, and Kirin, first instinct, strip down, getting that water. Come on,
Yep.
it must feel so good. And like, if you're Josh and you're being weird about that, but that was hard to watch too, because Kirin was just trying to be chummy. Like, come on, dude, I know you're shy, but like, could you imagine just being post-sexual assault, like, and having someone with completely good intentions trying to take your shirt off? Like, come on, don't be a pussy. And he said that coming from a place of being kind, but like
He was like trying to help
He was
and
trying to have
be
fun.
like
yeah,
chummy, like a guy to guy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know? And that's when, we kind of get a glimpse of the stress highs at first, and Kirin is like, wait, what is that? And that's like kind of, you understand he's not in the best mood, but that's definitely why he didn't take his shirt off and jump in.
Yeah.
And Kirin eventually was like, dude, what is wrong? He says something about Seth, and Josh gets triggered, right? They're walking back, and Kirin eventually is like, okay, dude, what happened?
Yeah, it's because he's like, yeah, Seth was right, man. You bring down the vibe. Everyone's vibing, and you're the
Yep.
one bringing it
He's
down.
like,
and
no,
he's like,
he-
no, he's the
Fuck
yeah.
that guy.
Yeah,
He's the
fuck him.
fucking problem. Seth's the fucking problem.
Which is
Yeah.
not like Josh to freak out like
Full
that.
snap.
Mhm.
Kirin's like, whoa,
it was very clear that something was wrong. And honestly, like, respect to Kirin for picking up on that and not being just oblivious, because I feel like a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily have experienced or been around situations like that wouldn't necessarily pick up on it.
I was very happy, one, that Josh had the confidence to share it with him, because I was thinking he might have just kept it to himself. And the other thing, Kirin could have reacted one of two ways. He could have believed him and taken it seriously, or he could have not believed him and not taken it seriously. He reacted the appropriate way, which was very nice to see. On both counts, they did the right thing. We can progress with the plot with the clot. I hope no one has a blood clot.
This is when Kirin starts to be like, holy shit, I like you. It's like you're doing the right thing, and this is when it started. And all of a sudden, he's like my favorite character, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, my intuition was good. I knew.
So, which brings us back to the beach, and Josh and Kirin are the last ones to show up. It's Seth holding down the fort, and he's saying like, "Goal, guys, goal!" What a
Ugh.
dork this guy is. Yeah. And I forget, nobody has any luck, and they all just congregate back at the beach.
I love how Henry's like, you don't even play soccer. Like, stop doing it.
Henry always calls him on his shit. But this is where kind of Kirin, with a full head of steam, is charging back towards the camp, and Josh is just like, dude, listen, like, this is kind of my thing. Don't I get to say, like, I don't want you to confront him like that. I just want us to all move past it, forget about it. I don't want to be known as that guy, which is a very valid stance for him. But they get back, and Kirin's like, there has to be some sort of consequence, dude. But Josh is like, no. And it's when they return to the beach, and Seth goes over, and it's just like, hey, buddy, how was your trip to the water? Whatever, like, gives him a pat on the back. Kirin just loses it, full-blown tackles this guy, and the truth comes out.
And then they vote survivor style, and the tribe.
Yeah.
The tribe is spoken.
Yeah, which
Travis
I was
so
proud
good.
of. I was
This
proud
is pretty
of.
intense, man. I like
I kind of
sat
like
up.
the democracy.
I
Mhm.
sat up in my seat, and I was like, dude, this is getting wild. Hence the name. But yeah, they were started
Paul.
like, I was like, what are they gonna do? Just like shun him and kill him, and pretty much, yeah, that's exactly what they did. They were like, fuck you, get out of here. And it was slowly one by one. And of course, Raph was just like, come on, guys. We all know Seth. We all love Seth. Let's take a beat here.
It brings up an interesting discussion. Obviously, what he did was what he did, but if you're sending him off into the wilderness by himself without a lighter, you are sentencing him to death, more or less.
Yeah. Which is
Whereas-
fucked up.
I think
Especially once
Rob-
you know there's a jaguar out there. Like, what's the likelihood?
Not
that there's-
anymore. There
But
ain't
what's
no
the
Jaguar
likelihood that
anymore.
there's only one? What's the likelihood?
Also-
Henry would be able to tell you that jaguars live independently, actually. So
Yeah, but one
the
to
odds
an
are there's
entire
only
island,
one.
to an entire island. How would it have gotten there in the first place?
Beechams, you should have tried
It
out.
would have
to be
at
Henry.
least needed to be two.
He was on a wilderness, like when you are on the plane for a women's retreat, the Jaguar, and then the plane crash, and then it was
Right. So like I don't know, like
Crazy.
you're sending them out in the wilderness. There could be other dangerous
Season
animals
3,
out there.
the jaguar
There's a lot of
plane.
danger out there.
Where's the Jaguar
regardless.
backstory? We want it.
You never
And then
know.
it ends sadly because he dies.
Yeah. So
R.I.P.
now the boys are freezing in the tent, and this is where Josh has his big speech. Is this where Kirin tells the joke, or is that later?
That's episode 3, actually.
or 6, you
where
mean?
Kirin- 6, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so Josh has this amazing speech. We touched on it, but it's so good. And this is where they all promise not to tell. And up until Roth, right now, they're all keeping their promise, which is amazing.
So I actually want to. Do we think that Roth like whispered it to Leah just so that the cameras couldn't pick up and that Leah knows, or are we to assume that Roth, like Leah, stopped him before he said anything?
She stopped him.
I think she stopped.
Okay, that's what I thought. So still, Roth has not said anything.
Correct.
Technically.
Correct. But he was going to, for sure.
He was going to.
Yeah.
Freaking Roth.
He was gonna do it for the
Short
place.
for
If
Rat.
anyone's gonna turn, it's the dude who went after Seth to,
Yeah.
to join him and got banished, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then they go and try and get the lighter. They realize the lighter's gone, right? After
That's
Josh's
6.
speech.
That's 6. So we'll
That's
move-
also
Josh's-
sick.
Yeah.
What the hell? What is the cutoff for 5 to 6? Like, what still happens with the boys?
So that is the end of the boys, and then the big cliffhanger for the girls is Nora's
Nora.
alive. So that's the end of 5. So we haven't even talked about the girls. We need to kind of be quicker about this.
Or just
But,
really
uh,
dig it in.
did the girls really do that much of anything? I feel like
No.
it's Rachel's funeral, but it's
Nora's,
like a
yeah.
whole Nora's funeral. Yeah.
Mhm.
And Rachel's story of how she's dealing with it. And
See,
it's
now-
like it's her final chapter of trying to move on.
Yeah. Go ahead. I was
Mhm.
just gonna say, I think you had the 2 points, which is Fatten's getting
Suspicious. She's starting to put pieces together.
and the Dot
And,
thing. I
and
liked.
Dot mentioned Gretchen. Those were the other big things I feel. But then, yeah, I feel like the big focus was what I wrote was like Rachel wants a 12-step program to God. She just like wants like
Yeah.
a plan, an itinerary
Mhm.
to reach faith. And then I find it funny that she's like, fuck a baptism. How about a funeral? So she's still a dark, twisted
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah.
you know? It was funny.
She was like, I've been in water all my life. I'm kind of over it at this point.
Yeah. She's
Yeah. I loved the Fatten stuff. So there's the tag, which could you see what the tag said? Was it a number? Was it?
It
just
was a phone number,
phone
it looked
number.
like.
I think it was
Okay.
the phone number. And what
So-
I assume, I'm sorry, Brian, but what I assume Nora did was wrote it down on the tag of her clothes that she packed or that she was wearing. So when she did get on the beach, eventually she could write it down in that drawing that she did,
Mm-hmm.
is what I assumed.
Yeah, I agree. So there's 2 things, and Fatten's wheels are motherfucking turning in that brain, and the only person she knows will really understand she's not allowed to talk to her.
She
about
talked
it.
her out of talking
Yeah.
about it.
because she pinned her up like this against the
Mhm.
rocks. I love that scene. Fatten is hot and also so cool. I don't think I've ever said that Fatten's hot out loud. I just need.
I
it
don't
on the
think it needed to
pod.
be said. Everyone just it's
Oh, gosh.
universal.
I
She's
also said
hot.
to Alex, I was like, the fact that Fatten's suitcase was the one that was found, and everyone's in these like glittery, like girly ass clothes is so funny to me. I love it.
Sunday
I mean,
fun day. like,
yeah.
every day
Oh, yeah.
on the
so
island.
funny. Like Fatten was just in this like full sequin outfit, I think in 6, and I'm like, it's ridiculous. It's comedy. It really is comedy that they found her
Emily-
suitcase.
Emily picked something out, and it's exactly what you're saying. It's like they'd share all the clothes, and I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, like every episode they just rotate." And I was like watching episode 4, and then episode 5, like Emily points out, like, "Yeah, see, like Leah is wearing it this episode, and now Rachel's wearing it this episode." And
I'm
Yeah,
I was
so
so
like,
bad
funny.
at that stuff, but that's an
I never
amazing
would,
detail.
I never would have noticed.
No, me either. Clearly.
I did notice this Martha's Sunday Fun Day shirt because how could you not love that shirt?
The other big thing about this episode that I liked because I thought this was going to be much bigger, and it might be if it gets out to the larger group. But Shelby tells Tony about the boat, and I thought that was going to like blow them up. But Tony was really sweet about it, and I was like so thankful for that. I was like, I don't need it. You don't need, like, every couple doesn't need to be exploded every time, like every fucking season. And it still could happen. I mean,
Yeah.
Tony was trying to in the next episode as well.
I just think you
Um,
expect that from like Tony, right? Like to just be reactive.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I
And-
feel like they're not going to break them up. I feel like they know that like the fan base needs
Yeah.
Just
some
stop
kind of hope.
watching.
Like no, like
The mutiny.
seriously, like
Hope.
some kind of hope and something good to come out of it. Like so far, Shoni is the only actually positive thing that has come out
True.
of
Yeah.
the girls' experience, and so I don't think.
Leah's getting over her dude slowly.
What's B Tom's thinking? He thinks
I
something
was
else is-
thinking the opposite. This season has been nothing but fluff for the girls. I mean,
Friendship.
bar.
Friendship.
Well, and it makes sense
they're
because
family
they've kind
now.
of gotten through their first 30 days of struggling. They are family now, and they kind of know what life on the island entails. But like, you look at the first 3 episodes. Episode 1, the girls' plot line was Dot's birthday. Episode 2 was the Nora funeral, which I guess that's a little bit deeper, but they took an entire episode to just wrap up the Nora arc. And then episode 3, Dot has a pimple, and like that's the entire scene until the end where Martha has her little baggage. But we've had 3, like, first 6 episodes, they've had nothing but fluff storylines, and a lot of the Reddit is complaining we got too much of the boys. Like, did you want to double the screen time of these girls like having Dot's birthday party? And like,
Yes.
I feel like the girls are past their trauma. It's all just sunshine and rainbows, except
Well,
for
they're not past their trauma
no.
though. From what we understand, they're foreshadowing. I mean, the stuff that's going on with Marty, like I don't think that's just going to miraculously get better. Like I know
No,
that they
but
only have 2 days left, but like I feel like we have some intense viewing to see.
But that only just started in episode 6 of season 2.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
True.
like between
I feel like
episodes
there's been
1 and
undertones of Marty being a little bit just not herself, right? Just
I
kind of
agree.
checking out. Patton reeled her back in, taught her how to jerk off. That's a great skill to acquire. But I think no, I think it's gone like in waves, like with Marty.
Yeah.
But no, to your
I
point,
agree.
it's been a lot of fluff, but it's been, to me, it's not fluff, it's friendship and
Yeah.
and positive shit in the face of being on a fucking island maybe for the rest of your life.
Right.
Yeah.
And
No,
also
it's
having like a 80-hour season of us seeing the struggles, like I think that it is worth it to see the positives. And also for Gretchen's point, you know, we're now starting to see the boys, and everything that we see of the boys is more in a negative light, whereas the girls we've been seeing and we've seen them get through their struggles, but now they're kind of on the other side of it for the most part, so we think.
all right. Any other lasting points
Sorry?
on episode? No, you're
No,
good.
no,
We're just
you're
talking
fine.
it out.
No, I think that the last point is Nora's alive. You see Rachel kind of have this moment with the ocean.
She's there. She's there.
She's there. She's there.
She's
At first, I
there.
was like,
when are they revealing?
at first I was like, is she actually there? I'm confused.
I would thought there'd be
It
like a
was
boat
I
or
did the same
something.
thing.
It was
I was like, wait,
dark.
what?
I was like, is she just like floating, but like doggy paddling out there or what? But I mean, it would be crazy if they oh my god. Theory. Nora's gonna wash up and pretend like she washed up on the weird side of the island and just got back to them.
Hey guys, I was on the other side of the island.
So I
gonna-
said,
Nah, they
so I
only
said
got
last recording. I said, do you think Nora's going to come back to the island, or do you think
Love that.
No
she's going to play it off?
way.
I hope she does. I hope she shows
100%.
up. She's like, "Hello, Rachel," and like reveals everything. She's like, "Come with me."
No, doesn't seem like it by their like
We've all-
they're like talking heads at the prison.
Yeah, we've already seen Rachel in an interrogation, and she did not seem to think Nora was alive. So, which is
Also-
kind of fucked up. They still haven't
you
revealed
refer
that to her.
to Nora in the
Poking
past
hole in my
tense?
fun.
Yeah.
Poking hole in my fun. Whatever.
Yeah, the season 2 opener, the Taylor Swift song is literally them all in their talking heads, like one by one, talking about how she's dead. So I don't know if they explicitly say dead, but they're like
Even in season
bad.
one,
They're
like,
alluding.
Rachel said something about like she's always with me or so. She said something in season one that was weird, but you didn't know about her hand, like didn't really show
Yeah,
her
yeah,
hand yet. It was
Mhm.
in the interrogation room, and it was definitely foreshadowing in retrospect.
All right.
Crazy theory.
Hit it.
The prison is actually still the island. It's just part they never saw.
Well, remember
I
Gretchen
think
was
so.
sitting on the beach. She was like sitting on the beach. She's like, "Fuck this! It's not relaxing." Whoever said that,
Yeah.
you know. So
yeah. I
an
feel like,
island-
Come here.
yeah.
Come here.
And the way I think what Dean said, I told Leah during his like soft spot when they're outside, like we're on an island, whatever of whatever. I didn't remember if you couldn't tell. But I don't know. Yeah, like that Gretchen scene and just like the way that Nora is like suddenly there, and I don't know, but they were in a fucking boat. I
I
just
feel
made
like
all that
maybe
up.
the islands
No,
are
Blake.
near each other, and
Yeah,
like
like
It's
What are
an
you two saying?
Brian, did I say that to
archipelago.
you offline that I thought that they might be connected via tunnel or something? Like that there might be like a secret door in the hatch that the boys found that leads to
That
the
would be
island.
wild, actually. No, I
I
don't
feel
think
like
you
I
shared
know
that
I
with me.
definitely said all of this to you at some point, but
Oh, well, if not, you're saying it now, and I think it's a great
put it
theory.
on the board.
No, that's totally possible, but it seems like that would be bad researching to give the two islands a bridge to get to each other. Like, I don't know, though. Who knows?
They
But maybe they
clearly
have-
seem big enough that they haven't explored the whole thing. Right?
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
no one has explored all around. So I wonder if it's like a cluster.
and like it's possible that the girls
Ah.
have a hatch too that they haven't discovered because like I don't remember which episode in this cluster it was, but at one point Gretchen does say something about how the boys have managed to learn how to sustain their food better than the girls have.
Mhm.
But like I feel like that could also go to the fact that like the boys found this hatch that like had supplies in it, but granted Seth led them there, so I don't know, maybe that's moot.
Yeah.
I don't know how big a point the hatches have to play because the girls are getting off the island in 2 days anyway.
That's true.
That said, we got a whole nother episode to get through. So are we good on episode 5, y'all?
Let's zoom through it.
All right. Episode 6, we open at the close, as Paul says. No, not actually. We open with Gretchen and Dan and Dean. And Gretchen has been sipping from that bottle. She's drunk. She's like, I think she's playing Candy Crush, actually. She's like, oh, fuck, that's satisfying. She's like having a great time, but she's having a pity party. She's like, all of my work is a failure because of this freaking blind spot that the boys have. Like, we don't have a complete study. And Dean is kind of standing in the background. It seems like Daniel is much more like in on the research and buddy with Gretchen and more like a partner, whereas Dean is just kind of there. Gretchen also brings up that she is aware of a mutiny that's happening on her team, which we already know to be Dean since he's helping out Leah. But Gretchen is just kind of spiraling. And I took this as she's kind of that mad scientist type who is overly reactionary and emotional to anything. If anything goes bad, she's going to be super chaotic and drastic to react to that and get drunk and call her life's work a complete failure. Where when times are good, she's going to be power trippy and be like, oh, I'm Gretchen. I'm the leader of the study, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, this is what we got. Gretchen spiraling. Dean and Dan are proceeding with the interviews.
Yeah. Do you think they're both narcs? Because obviously we know Dean, but he was like, he said as they walked out, he was talking to Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saying like, oh, like, was that true back there? What you were saying about like the mutiny? And I could see Dan just being like, oh, fuck, like Dean knows it's me. Meanwhile, it's both of them helping out both the guys and the girls.
Oh, I didn't get that at all. I thought Dean was trying to like
kind of made it up.
Yeah.
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 Wild theory.
Yeah. But yeah, so if we're good, this is Ivan's backstory. You
Ivan
get
and Kirin's.
Ivan and Kirin's, yes. I wish we got more of Kirin, but I was hyped. Like when they showed this, I was like, ooh, I'm pumped. Because I was dying to know what this animosity was. And honestly, like if I'm Kirin, I'm beating him up right as I get in that island. Like, what the hell? That's crazy. Not that he like supported him, but he was baiting him so hard and got him expelled. Like, that was crazy. We're jumping the
That's
gun.
so fucked up. That was
It's-
so fucked up.
And like Kirin shouldn't have said it. Like, that's crazy. But like if someone's like riling you up so much and daring you to say it and begging you to say it, it was.
And he's drunk. He was drinking beers. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's ballsy drinking in the locker room.
And I'll tell you what, they did a really good job because it's hard to defend either of them, and that's the point, right? Like it's like
yeah.
it's hard to defend either, and that coach, it's like basically the point is it's Ivan and his boyfriend. They're stalking the hot coach, which is Kirin's coach. That's where we get the cool montage or whatever. Stalking him because he's hot, and ends up seeing the coach in blackface as Kanye, which is obviously awful, terrible. Years ago was and so Ivan cancels him, which then gets him fired. Like he posts stuff online. Then we find Kirin in the just so fucked up, like humming and singing and really just pitying himself. And Kirin was really sweet, being like, no, man, I'm not saying that. And the boyfriend really was looking at Ivan like, dude, stop, let's leave. Like Ivan was really just like, oh my God, it was
Ivan
crazy.
did a lot throughout that episode that you kind of could just see in credit to the boyfriend, Luke's acting. I mean, you could just see him kind of like cringing or just being like, do I like you? Like,
Yeah.
what's up with you? Like, even when they're in bed and he just kind of was like taking the post anyway, the picture and or video, then posting it. Like, Ivan's just very fucking self-involved and in his own headspace. Big time. Big time.
Ivan's boyfriend Luke, I think, absolutely dunks on him at the end, and I have
Oh,
the
yeah.
quote, and I just loved it. He says,
Me
"You
too.
didn't score one for the cause, Ivan. You just kicked a kid when he was down," which is true. "I know who we are. We're black, gay, and all the things that we are. I know that we have to be guarded and mean all the time, but it's almost like you forget to be anything else."
He like kind of forced it. He was playing
He-
offense to make it
yeah,
happen, right?
He
There's-
fully egged Kirin on. Like it wasn't, Kirin didn't want to say that. Kirin didn't feel that way. Like when he punched the locker and Ivan was like, you're imagining that's my face? Like
Yeah.
Kirin was like,
no. He was like,
"No,
dude, I was
like,
mad.
the
I'm just
tone
mad.
too.
Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just punching the locker, like he was
And
he was fully egging him on. And
we've
yeah.
seen this on the island too, when Ivan and Scotty butted heads. Scotty's like, "Dude, you got to man up and help us with this." He's like, "You think the way that I dress and the way that I talk?" Scotty's like,
Broken
I
wrist.
didn't even
Yeah.
say all that, bro. Like I
He
just told
projects.
you to."
He projects. So
Yeah.
he's coming from a place of like, for someone who claims is so confident in his identity,
Yeah.
he's almost
Yeah.
pretty insecure in it, or he thinks he's going to beat you to the punch and he's going to hit you first, and then it just backfires badly.
I think what Luke was trying to say at the end about kicking Kirin while he's down is because Kirin, this was his coach, but no, this was pretty
Who's
much
Luke?
like
The boyfriend.
MVP of the episode.
I think his
honestly.
name is his name Luca? His actual name, but he calls him Luke or something like that.
Okay.
I might be wrong. Anyway, this is like Kirin's like father figure in his life. This is basically like
His family.
his like dad, because as we know, Kirin's father left and started a whole family,
Mhm.
pretends that they don't exist. So this was his dad, and that's why he's so down. And he was like, he was a good man, and it sucks because what he did was horrible. At the same time, if he's ignorant and did it, is it worth ruining his life over? It sucks.
They start
It's
to
a
get
horrible
into that on
situation.
the island too, of like Kirin's like, oh, now you want to like not be like just what did he
Put your
say?
money where your mouth is, basically. It's not what he says, but it's
Zero
like
tolerance policies. Like you live
Yeah.
your whole life that way, and all of a sudden in this situation, you're done with that. Like, no, nah. And it pushes Ivan to grow
Yeah.
and to rethink his
Yeah.
choices.
I just wanted to say, obviously, we're 5 white people. So, like, speaking for Ivan is not something any of us can do.
No.
I just want to say that I think that the episode and the writers did a really good job of making it be like, wow, like both ways. It's like, obviously, the blackface is terrible. And then, obviously, what Kirin said is terrible. But when Ivan pretty much gives him the script for it and at his lowest
Yeah.
point, it's so hard to like. Yeah,
It tackles a lot of
it's
layers,
hard.
like similar to the sexual assault. Like I think they widen the lens and the picture of like what can happen. Like things are not black and white, and Ivan's learning that
Yeah.
himself. And like it just, I think, did an amazing job of showing that. It makes you
Completely.
feel conflicted. You're like,
Completely.
I want to be on Ivan's side fully, but fuck, you're
Same.
making it hard. And again, we're
That's
white
it.
people, and it's hard to say that, but
Yeah.
that's what they wanted to do with the writing,
Mhm.
obviously, you know, and the boyfriend even being like, yo, I'm good on you and all of this. And you know, they share a similar identity.
Yeah.
multiple identities.
Yeah. That's one of the things too that makes the show so incredible. Like the writers did a really good job at being raw and real about like what the gray area is.
Mhm.
And that's not necessarily like it's not a good thing, but like there is, you know, like I feel empathy towards both sides in this situation, and it's very conflicting. It's like who am I mad at here, because they both did something very wrong. But
Kirin and Ivan, when they were talking about it on the island, Kirin's like, are you actually sorry, or are you sorry that your boyfriend spoke up and you got expelled too? Which is interesting because I didn't think that was gonna happen. That's crazy.
I love that
Ivan-
kind of karma.
Yep.
Yeah. But
He deserved
again,
it.
like it is such a gray area. And I think you said it best. It's like I want to love Ivan so much, but he makes it hard. I think that's like the best way to put it. He makes it so hard.
He's just super dramatic. Like
Yeah.
he just really loves drama. And
Mhm.
like that's just who he is. Like
yeah.
he
So it's-
should be on Bravo.
It's so surprising that he is making this gesture in this episode, though, that he is actually creating like a mini fire to bring to them so they don't, you know, freeze. It's like you guys said, you can see like Ivan kind of like growing a little bit.
And in doing that, he gets booted from the camp too, which I feel like we
Yeah.
should discuss as just this mob mentality, like left turn that it's starting
Mhm.
to take.
Yeah,
Mm.
before we do that, I just want to say that I actually really like the scene. I know we mentioned that like maybe Ivan shouldn't have posted the picture of them kissing, but I really like the speech he gives Luke or whatever his name is, about being like someone is scared, and like someone who is gay and black and younger or older is scared, and they could see this and it could give them a glimmer of hope or whatever it is. I was like, that was a good. I mean, maybe you shouldn't have posted it again. Like he said, like ask my
Consent.
permission next
Consent.
time. But I did like that. And
Yeah.
I totally get behind that sentiment.
Yeah.
And the art
I love
Luke
that speech.
drew, it was
Yeah.
just beautiful. Yeah, there like
Mhm.
there was so
I
much potential in their
I
love.
know. And
Man,
it was just Luca's face while he was watching Ivan like taunt Kirin. I
you
was
just
like,
saw it fall
That
and
was so
fall.
hard.
yeah,
You just
I
saw it.
really shipped them. I really liked them together.
yeah. We were all Luca. All of us were Luca.
We were like,
No.
What are
Yeah.
you doing?
Yeah.
Hopefully when he gets back from the island, we get back together. Everything's good.
So, moving on, I think Alex mentioned it earlier. The lighter's missing. They go to Seth to get it, and they start beating him up. Kirin's kicking him. Josh is then kicking sand in his face, and they rip his sweatshirt off and throw it in the fire. And Roth is like, "Yo, this is where I draw the line." Like, I mean, he drew the line of kicking him out, but this was, even for me, I know, like, fuck Seth really hard, but killing a man, I think Ralph said it best. Like, we're not we're not a court of law. You can't just like sentence somebody to death. So one by one, people are getting exiled. Ralph is first. It's just Ralph. I guess it's just Ralph and Ivan. But yeah, what do you guys think about the exiling of Ralph first? I guess.
It's weird because Kirin looked to Josh and said, Josh, like, hey, it's up to you. I'll enforce whatever you say. So it's kind of like Kirin's being this bigger protective like brother, it's almost, to
Yeah.
Josh. And so Josh is, you can see Josh becoming more confident, even if it's like in bad ways, like literally kicking Seth and, you know, putting out his fire so he freezes. But yeah, he's like fucking around with Kirin, and then yeah, Raph comes out and says it, and Josh is like, I want him gone. Kirin's like, all right, you're fucking gone. It's like, dude, this is insane. Like, why are you kicking these people out? You need to survive.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice knowing that like Ralph will be okay because Seth's an arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, no
Well,
matter what, they're gonna be okay.
That was something, and I don't know. Seth was laying there all feeble and shit. I thought
Yeah.
that was interesting. And is it because he doesn't want to explain to HQ what the fuck he did to
I
get kicked
guess.
out, right? Like,
True.
he's kind of a failure of an operative right now, as well as like someone who committed a crime. So
Mhm.
like but like, you know, he easily could get protection
Mm.
or something, you know. It's interesting.
Ralph was like, "Oh man, we don't have a fire. It's just me and you, Seth. I guess we should cuddle
Fuck.
together.
What
to
if we
get a
just
body wash."
get closer?
All part of the plan.
And then
Then
fucking
what if
Ivan
we-
shows up with this goddamn fire and ruins everything. Well, you don't get to cuddle anymore.
I like when they call him a felon. Like Kirin's like, he's a felon. Like when they're trying to, when Ralph's trying to, be
Yeah.
like, we can't kill him.
Yeah.
Like he's a felon. You said it best. I mean, Kirin's really being a brother to him, and it is nice to see to Josh. Josh is kind of like, of course, he's can cope however he wants, but he's getting a little goofy. On
I
me,
feel like
but-
I'm like, it's like the Mad King or something. Like you can just tell that he's like drunk on power for the first time in his life. And like, not to say that he doesn't deserve some kind of like retribution, but
yeah,
again, they do a really good job of making you feel conflicted and like, what do I actually think should happen, or what is right here? What is wrong here? I
Mhm.
am definitely conflicted.
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
yeah. Yeah. But so it ends with Ivan.
Also getting the boot.
Ivan getting the boot because he wants to bring the fire, and that's where the confrontation happens. And Kirin's kind of like, "Do I even have to say it?" And he's like, "No, I'm gone." But Ivan's still kind of staying away from Seth and Josh. Like Ivan is sticking to at least his morals or whatever, where his rules, where he's like, "Fuck these two." But I get it. I'm exiled, and I probably need them at some point. So yeah, I mean, Ivan wants to like.
He says
Like a
he-
peace offering, but not actually a peace offering.
Well, so he
He's-
talks about growing, and then he's like, "But did I live to regret it?" Like, so that's
Yeah.
interesting foreshadowing as well.
Mhm. All right, ready for the girls?
Girly time.
It's the hot tub girls.
It's a jacuzzi girls.
The jacuzzi girls.
Oh, and Ben Folds, my boy.
It's so crazy. It is.
Kathleen's like, "No way, is that really him?" I was like, "It's literally Ben Folds."
It's totally. And Brian turns to me today when we were watching. He goes, "Do you know who Ben Folds is?" I was like, "Oh yeah,
I
know who
don't.
Ben Folds is."
I don't know who
The
this
one
luckiest
is.
was my jam.
Put it out there that I didn't know he was a real person until just now.
Just
Like,
me-
I thought it
just me
was
and
like
Emma
a-
Love
then.
that.
Believe
video.
it.
And Emily didn't know it either, so I'm putting that out there. Blame's on her.
I mean, I'm a little older than you. I'm Kathleen and Alex. I have no idea how old you are, so I'm just
30.
assuming you're okay. So I'm Kathleen's age. So you know who Ben Folds
It
is,
was
right?
early on.
No.
Yeah, you
Oh.
and me. That's it. We're the
Okay.
only ones.
Cheers
uh,
to that.
Girlfriends.
Not to totally like divert on Ben Folds, but I actually
It's
like this
fantastic,
morning,
though.
what popped into my head was all of a sudden, like I hear a cover of Bitches Ain't Shit by Dr. Dre, and I realize it's a Ben Folds cover that I heard as a teenager. So I will send
Wait.
that to everyone after. It's absolutely bad shit.
Wow.
Picture this
Also,
40 man on
um,
his piano.
Yeah.
singing.
Must say, if you Google Ben Folds, the first thing that comes up is people also ask, "Is Ben Folds a genius?"
Why? Oh my god.
Musical genius. I have something that will excite the boys. Shelby loves Mortal Kombat. Canon.
I was
Absolute
like,
canon.
Yeah.
I was like, Emily, wait, seriously?
Wait,
Shelby?
no, I just
In
mean
real
like
life?
no, I just mean canon in the universe.
Oh, I know. That would be sick if that actress actually plays it. No, but I was so
Right.
hyped. I heard Mortal Kombat, and Emily was like literally said like, "Oh God" or something like that, because she knew I like, was gonna look over. It's like, see, video
Yeah.
games are fun. Girls play video games.
This was a really cute scene. They're like the banter, the jokes, like she's like, finish him, and she's like, you're gonna need to say that again. And they're just giggling. It's so cute. And this is where the tension of the episode really happens, at least between Tony and Shelby. And Shelby says, I love you. And instead of it was interesting because usually when they're like, I love you, they're like, oh that just came out of nowhere. She just like goes
She
full
doubles
force in.
down with the
She's like,
L-bomb.
I love you. I'm like, oh, and then Tony seems cute. And then all of a sudden it was like, pew.
She was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Who put that rock there? What are you guys stupid? You trying to kill me?
She
All
went
right,
day
sorry.
one Tony real quick. She was also just
Oh,
like,
Tony.
She's gonna pee in her hand and throw it at somebody soon.
She
Yeah.
regressed real quick, but it was nice that like Marty was there to just be like,
Mhm.
come on, Tony. All right, what's this really about? I've seen you happy before. Like, this is the happiest I've ever seen you. Why
Yeah.
did it all just like go away? And they confided in each other, and it makes sense. Tony's just like, I've seen enough like social workers in my life to know like why I feel this way, but like I feel like I'm not worth shit, and I just
Yeah.
want that feeling to stop. And until it does, I won't be able to accept anyone's love. And Marty's like, girl, you got this, come on.
Love that.
Yeah, she struggles with love. I mean, because it's never really been there or consistent. And she even says, like, I've said it and I've not really meant it. And so I think she's trying to figure out how to say it and mean it and let it in,
Yeah.
obviously.
My hair looks like
But then you
Shelby's
see
hair
it
right
like
now.
this kind of take Marty take a turn. Like
Yeah.
in this conversation. Like it's almost like a
Oh.
bad light bulb clicks on of like, oh yeah, I do feel like I'm not shit. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I guess we can end the episode with that because I feel like that's gonna be a big so we can come back to Marty. But I
What a
guess
horrible first visual that they give us of Marty going around to her traps. Is that what you're gonna say? Sorry.
That was
Um,
so hard.
watching her go to each trap and then finding the one just the tail and then is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah. Like the so what eventually was like the avalanche that caused Marty to like have like an actual freak out was she goes to her traps, all the snares, they're like one's not hit. She goes to one and then she sees the leg. And then she like gets sick because she knows that like the rabbit chewed its own leg off to get free rather than just sit there.
Yeah.
And that makes it so much worse because she follows it, and then the babies is what just sends her over the edge. And
And
I
the
was
thing
like,
that really made it all the worst is that she had a pet bunny.
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, at home that she talks about.
Oh, yeah, she does. Yeah, because I
So-
guess that is a good conversation they have all about like, do you think we had funerals? That was a
Yeah, we
great
didn't even
conversation.
touch on that.
Yeah, I liked that. And Leah's like, my parents got it all wrong. I just know
I
it.
loved that.
But also, like, Leah's parents are the only ones that like know where she is and are like,
no,
she's
they're
gone.
lying.
well, they don't know where she is, but they don't
Right,
think she's
right, right.
dead.
Yeah, no, all the parents are getting that.
They all think they're
As long as they
dead.
have parents, they're getting that.
Yeah, they don't think their parents, their kids are dead.
Right, correct. So that's like, yeah. So I guess let's go back to Tony really quick saying I love you back because that eventually ends up being good and cute and sweet. She says it back. And I snugged her up. I was like, that was so cute.
Oh my god. Another fluff story for the girls.
I
Tony
know, really.
can't hear I love you. It takes a whole episode for her to learn. Oh, I am allowed to hear I love
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry. The
and
boys
I can
aren't
say
chanting.
it back. The
Fuck
boys
you,
got
Brian.
their boys are knee deep in a scandal, okay?
Yeah.
And if you guys want a little party on a plane crash
Jeez.
survival show,
I do.
you
I
guys,
do.
the
While
girls
we're
scored
yelling.
one with a hot spring.
We're yelling.
They got a hot
Jacuzzi
spring.
girls.
Jacuzzi ass girls. We got Rachel's little dance, little made up song as she I don't
Leah
know
said,
any.
I don't know she was gonna do that.
Yeah, she didn't tell me.
I wasn't on
And
board.
Leah's hallucinating the whole episode.
thought
Tripping
the
balls.
I loved it.
The
What
first
is she hallucinating
hallucination,
on? Just being crazy?
Yeah.
stress, anxiety, crazy. The first hallucination is so funny where she hallucinates Rachel said that you're certifiably fucking insane. She's like,
Yeah.
what? She's like, a hot spring, follow me. It's so
Kathleen
funny.
was like, wait, did she really say it or not? I was like,
Yeah.
no, Leah's lost the plot.
Yeah.
this
Really.
episode's really good because I think Ivan is really the only one getting interrogated by Dean and Dan, and kind of his what do you call it, where someone speaks in the background over like the picture.
Inner
Narrating?
monologue.
Narration, yes, a narrating inner monologue. No, it wasn't an inner monologue. His interrogation is kind of narrating the scenes that are happening on the island for both the boys and the girls. The one scene at the end, he kind of just like wraps it up and he's like, we're all fighting our battles. Some of us are fighting the ones you can see, like some of the ones you can't see. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here, and it doesn't make sense unless I actually find the quote, which I knew I wrote down. Ivan tells Dan and Dean that what they're all looking they all have their battles. Tony and Shelby just are battling for acceptance. Leah just wants to find peace or an escape. And this whole episode, like the acceptance Tony and Shelby one is, they both want to say I love you and be able to accept that. Leah wants peace or an escape. Like she spends the whole day in a hot spring coming to terms with the fact that, hey, I might be a little bit fucking crazy. I'm hallucinating. The next thing he says, some of us have battles that are so unimaginably evil that I can't even speak them into words, referencing Martha's battle with, honestly, exactly what he just described. He said a hidden battle that can never completely stay that way. He's referencing Henry and how he's battling his feelings about his brother, and eventually it boils over and he has to share it with Ivan, and then Ivan reveals his own battles, which he doesn't let anybody in on.
Everyone has their shit, right? And they're all going through it in one way or another, fluff aside or not, they're all going through some shit. But Marty then at the end,
yeah, I mean, that was brutal.
Hard.
And
It was hard.
Leah comes up to it, sees the scene. First of all, I kept saying Marty was like 5 feet ahead of them. How did she get so far away? I was like, they chased her
That was
immediately. I was like,
it's dark in the woods.
No.
No.
I disagree.
Yeah,
but
I agreed. I thought that was a little dramatic.
yeah,
I was
like, they looked away for 1 second,
right
and she was like,
They should have gave the girls more pause. Like, what just happened? Oh fuck, let's go.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But Tony obviously is the one who kind of grabs her, and rightfully so. I mean, they're like sisters. But yeah, so she killed all the babies, huh?
I thought she slit her
And the
own
mom.
wrists. I missed.
That's definitely what I thought it was when it showed her just
Yeah.
sitting there with the knife.
I
Like,
thought she was dead.
Thought it was wrists.
yeah,
we
I
thought it was
definitely-
wrists at first, and then we saw they panned out to the babies, but we haven't seen her move. Like,
She's
we
just-
saw her fall back. We haven't seen her blink or move. I feel like she's alive based off of how she fell back onto Tony, but like we
She's
haven't
catatonic.
actually, we don't have any confirmation yet.
There was no warning either, so I guess it wasn't. That. But
She-
my brain was like, oh no, this is it.
So, like, what is the reasoning that you guys got behind it? She didn't want the babies to suffer in this world without a mother, so she like thought it was a mercy to do that.
She thought she had to take care of it, right? Like, kind of like
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Or-
putting them out of their misery.
even
What
though
if
it
she was
hurts
like,
her.
chicken nuggets to go with the main meal?
Rabbit
Wow.
nuggets.
Yeah, she was like,
I feel like
"Yes."
that was not the case for Martha.
Oh, okay.
Could
That
have been.
was
Oh, okay.
But
Maybe I
maybe,
misread that.
maybe if it had been any of the boys, that would have been the case.
Oh no, she smashed a rock into her head over it. I don't think she was.
That was- oh my God, I
That
totally
was
forgot
way
about
too
that.
much.
That was a
Brutal.
lot.
How do we
Poor
forget
But
to talk
also,
about
like,
that?
Also, guys, to be honest, like I kind of understand that mindset of being so angry with yourself and so like devastated. Like granted, I don't think I would ever smash a rock on my head, but like
Yeah.
I can understand that like I've thrown things when I've been mad
Oh,
at
yeah.
myself. Like, I can understand that amount of anger,
almost like-
especially when it's directed towards yourself.
It's almost
It
like
was
the
just-
punching of the walls and this and that.
Yeah,
It's just
there's
to
no
the
forest.
extreme. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like
there's no
this is a
walls.
rock. This is all I have. So
Yeah.
Ugh.
And like it was like the more shocking part almost to me was like, well, how do you react when you see that? Like Tony like went up and like grabbed her and was like, oh my God, like what do we do? Like go, we're gonna go bury them. Like we're gonna do whatever you say. I was like, holy shit, like how do you handle this?
But
And
they shouldn't have left her alone.
I wonder if
They
her
put-
injury is like part of it too. She could have a severe fucking head injury for all we know at this
Yeah.
point. Like
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Part of
Could be more
extraction.
internal bleeding.
that's what I'm saying, right? So also before we like get to the end, just we said the wrong day. Like we're not on 48, we're only on 46 for day 4.
Oh, I typed the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we still got a little time left on these next
4
two.
days.
But
Okay.
but I just wanted like it wasn't
Fact
so,
check.
so she could just be sitting there with this freaking head wound for 4 days, so we don't know what's gonna happen. So
Yeah. they're
Yeah,
gonna
or
do
just
that.
continue spiraling, period. I mean,
yeah.
The girls were doing so well until this Marty
Mm.
thing. I'm hoping she gets through
You
it.
were just
also
talking
until this
smack.
Leah thing, like we know that Leah's literally hallucinating, which is even though we have seen her and we know that she's okay, that's
It's not.
It's still not
Yeah,
good.
but she's doing the appropriate thing and bottling it way down deep where nobody can see it, and that's the healthy way to deal with trauma.
Right? That's what.
Looking like
that's
the
what-
boys'
that's what we're all
island.
talking.
Bottle it down deep.
That's
Don't let
the
nobody
boys.
see
That's the
that.
boys.
That's
Island.
Ted Mosby. We from Ohio, we take anger, we push it down. When we get more anger, we keep pushing it down.
Actually, Paul,
Terrible.
my parents are from. Oh fuck! I ruined that. My parents live in Ohio. I live in the moment.
Yes, sir. Classic
That's
Ted
it.
Mosby line.
I love old Ted.
Uh,
Oh,
So yeah,
whatever.
like, is Leah just like, is this being caused? Is the hot spring like actually like toxic fumes or something that caught like triggering her? We
No,
already
because she
know
had
she's
these
going
before
through
the
stuff.
hot springs.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
like
led
we
her to
already
the
know
hot
she has
springs.
this stuff, but it hasn't been this bad. So like, is this just like, is this like a catalyst to push her over the edge, or is it's just like day 46? Like it's finally catching up to her.
I'm really hoping that her seeing the Ben Folds guy, that's a metaphor for she's getting over the baggage with Jeff. And this was a very positive turn of the corner for Leah. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like she's accepting, she's hallucinating, she's a little bit crazy, but she's seeing Ben Folds now, not Jeff. And that's like a good thing. She's like, oh, this is funny. It's harmless.
That's
was
how I
never
thought too.
She was gonna get a crush on Dan when they were interrogating. I was like, don't you do it,
Mm.
Leah. Don't you get
No,
another
no,
30-year-old
we don't
man
like
crush.
Dan.
No, Dan's the
You
bad
think that
one,
man's
too.
30?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He's deep.
Stanley strongly disagrees. He just very loudly meowed. So
Stan,
He
okay.
always does
Sorry.
Um,
The only other thing. Oh, that's what I was saying.
Ooh.
what's your
the
other
only-
thing?
The only other thing about this episode that I like thought kind of went under the radar, but they like showed a little bit of light too, was like how Henry was dealing with all of this. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but like Henry's like, holy fuck, like this is my stepbrother. How like, and now like basically casting him out to die, like yeah, he's a horrible person, but like is should he die? And like Henry's
He
just kind of
pukes.
like.
He
Yeah,
cries. He's puking and screaming and crying.
Yeah.
So I feel horrible for Henry, and I wonder how that's gonna play out, and if he's like basically, if Henry's kind of like the Martha, where Henry is getting so bad that we need to come in and intervene, and that's why the guys only made it to like day 34 or whatever it was.
I'm
That was it.
assuming one of these next two episodes is going to be the Henry and Seth backstory. I'm hoping
Gotta
it
We
be.
is.
have to get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to get it.
also, does anyone else feel a very strong similarity in the way that Nora speaks and the way that Henry speaks? Just
Oh,
literally
yeah.
the way that they actually speak.
So I
Like
thought
when
Henry
they're
was the
telling
narc.
when they're telling stories, like the way that they pause and the way that they accentuate certain words, like it's just really interesting.
Are you saying
like,
they're the same person? Because we've
no,
never
but
seen
I just-
Henry
In the same
and
way.
Nora in the room at the same time.
I
I'm
mean,
just saying.
I mean, like, I guess they, like, if you want to go for a real stretch, I guess they could be,
You're
but like,
crazy.
that's not where
No.
I'm going. More just that there's like a very strong parallel between the way that they articulate things. Like I can't, like these lines, like if I didn't know that they were for Henry, like I could have thought that they were lines that were originally written for Nora. Like I just feel like
They're
I don't-
both kind of the very intellectual misfit characters
Yeah.
that are slightly socially awkward a little bit. So they fit
Soft-spoken, too.
they fit the same mold, and they're both obviously very smart. So I totally see that, Emma. Do we have anything else for episode 6?
No, wrap
here?
it up.
Just one quick thing that the Fatten unraveling
Yeah.
the details
Yes.
and kind of looking into it continues, and she again tries to be like Leah, and Leah's like, no.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I think, obviously we're wrapping it up, but what do we think is going to happen? I feel like that has to come to a head, like Fatten and
Yeah.
Leah teaming up. Do they turn on Dot briefly and think she's a narc after that Gretchen comment? Like, what transpires in the final days?
Alex had a good point when we were watching that she was like, I hope that Fatten and Leah do actually connect about it, or do they get rescued before Leah and Fatten can really have a conversation about it on the island?
But the Shelby thing, right? The note, maybe they all have some kind of reckoning before.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's what we're going to get, some sort of reckoning. Fatten has to give her evidence to Leah. They present it to the group, and then probably the group rejects it because it seems like Shelby had rejected it until they got to the prison where she was like, actually, you were right. So I kind of think you're onto something there, Alex. Do we have anything else? We've been at this for a while now.
We have. I might
don't
split
think-
this into 3 episodes.
Also,
just to make it
Kathleen, you can
easier.
cut out half my rambling because
No.
I'm pretty drunk. I'm not gonna lie. I've had like 3.5 glasses of
I
wine.
love
That's staying in. She said that.
I
That's
love
understandable.
Nope, all
Um,
good. Brian, take us home.
Awesome. That was episodes 4 through 6. We have 2 more episodes here, episodes 7 and 8. And I believe we're planning on doing both of those in our next recording. So we are going to put a cap on season 2 of The Wilds with our next podcast episode reviewing it. As always, if you like what you heard, give Bingetown TV a follow on Twitter and Instagram. Visit us on bingetowntv.com and subscribe to our show on Spotify, YouTube, the Apple Podcast app, or wherever else you may find your podcast. Our Patreon is up and running, so if you want to support the pod, that is also a great way to do so, and that can be found on our website at bingetowntv.com. Once again, we are Bingetown TV, and thanks for listening.
Ice the booze and get horny.
Bitches.
Dorothy's
Dorothy's
18.
motherfucking birthday.